Hello there, welcome to Brian Lomax Movie Talk. Bit of an informal video this one, just more of an instant reaction kind of thing. Just been in to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And as you can see, I'm not alone. Joining me is Nathan, who, if you're a regular viewer of my channel, you'll know from a review that we did together once, Man from Uncle. Been dying to have him back on, and here we go. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Nathan, first thoughts?
Brilliant. Really enjoyed it. Loads of fun. They didn't, to be honest with you, there didn't seem to be a mission to go on after the sort of opening sequence, and which was fantastic. They didn't seem to really have a mission or a quest, but it did not matter because the guys were just having fun interacting with each other. What I got from it was that the first Guardians of the Galaxy, we met the characters. In this one, we learned about all their backstories. We learned about the depth of the characters, which was really good. But also, the fact that they're living together and they're working together and they go on these quests together. So they've got this banter together, and like they're like brothers and sisters, and that is just hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like the whole family thing. It's like Fast and Furious recently, man, that just banged on about family all the time. But we never really see it in Fast and Furious. They talk about it, but you don't really truly believe that they're a family. Whereas here, it like you said, there's not a right lot of plot. It's kind of plotless in many respects. It's just scenes involving them interacting, and I kind of love it because I love the relationships between them. But it's actually quite touching as well, I thought. Certainly towards the end of the film, and just for the record, spoilers from here on out. I'm not going to be posting this till Monday, so you've probably seen it by then. But yeah, spoilers. The stuff with Yondu, and like when he sacrifices himself, I thought like the funeral stuff around that was quite touching. I also thought that the rivalry between Gamora and Nebula, when they finally get together and fight it out, and then they talk it out actually, and that was quite touching. I thought I could feel myself getting a bit emotional with that. But Kurt Russell, what did you think about Kurt Russell? This is a strange one, isn't it?
Yeah. The best bit, and this is definitely a spoiler, was the David Hasselhoff transformation. That was absolutely brilliant.
One of the best cameos I've ever seen in my life.
But in terms of Kurt Russell's character, I thought he was played really well. I liked, you could tell something was going to happen. You could tell there was a twist coming with his character in that. He wasn't this saintly guy who had, been pining after his son. He was all drawing towards something, and I thought actually, even though I knew it was coming, it was actually done quite well. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, it's like clearly something sinister about this guy from the get-go, really. But yeah, he makes for a more interesting villain, I would say, than the dude we got in the first film, who I thought was kind of the weakest link of the first film. He was he was a typical Marvel villain in the sense that the majority of them just aren't that strong. I think Marvel have been upping their game a bit recently with the villains. There's been a kind of slight increase of quality, I'd say. I enjoyed the villain from Civil War. But yeah, I think Kurt Russell makes a good bad guy here. And it's funny seeing, I guess, it from a god's perspective, with a not a capital G, as he says in the film. Like kind of tapping into that. What purpose does he have when you can't relate to humans and like us lesser beings at our level? It kind of felt in many ways as well a bit like Sunshine and films like that, where someone has been so alone for so long, they kind of go crazy. It was one of, if you've seen that film, spoiler alert for that film, by the way. There's the guy on the ship, isn't there? He's been out there for so long, he eventually goes insane. And I think again that's a commentary on the family element of the film, that actually you need that family, however dysfunctional, to kind of keep you grounded and to keep you well, from going insane, which is essentially what this guy, with all his power, has done.
And I think from our perspective, from a human perspective, if you like, it's hard for us to get on board with his motives to kind of destroy the universe and make it all about him.
Yeah.
Because as humans, we won't want that to happen.
No.
But I guess it had to be that. It had to be another destruction of the universe because these are the guardians of the galaxy. So they did actually mention that. Well, we're saving the galaxy again, guys. But because this film was so fun and because it just had so many crazy jokes in it and it was just a fun ride to go on, it didn't really matter that we couldn't buy into his motive because we needed a villain, needed a quest for them to have. That came back. It was very fitting. And in fact, had lots of. It was quite multi-layered. In fact, in the end, so you could go with it, and I really enjoyed the film.
Yeah. Definitely more character-driven than plot-driven, I would say. I think for me the highlight is Drax. Once again, I mean I like Rocket Raccoon as well, but Drax just cracks me up. Every line of dialogue that comes out of his mouth, with that dry delivery from Dave Bautista, and there's this thing going on throughout the film with this. I can't remember the name of the character, the woman with the antennae, but Mantis, is it?
Mantis,
yeah, he's constantly digging at her, saying that she's ugly and this, that, and the other. And what was the last line? He finally tells her that she's beautiful. And it's quite touching, but then it's undercut with this humorous moment in which he says, "on the inside." And I was just like in hysterics. But yeah, tons of funny moments like that throughout. Rocket Raccoon, actually, I as with the first film, I find to be quite a touching character because he's got quite a tragic backstory. In fact, most of they all do, don't they?
Yeah,
in their own way, they all have a tragic kind of backstory, and I like how they related him to Yondu in this. They kind of cut from the same cloth, so to speak.
And just awesome CGI as well. You don't even notice it. I mean, the same with things like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and recent Jungle Book. In that you don't even realise what you're watching isn't CGI.
You just become immersed in it, don't you?
Totally. Really? And in fact, even though, as I said before, it was so much fun going on, Rocket had loads of really touching moments. Yeah. And he really felt sorry for this guy. I was about to say guy then. Felt sorry for this rat or raccoon or was it the panda?
I can't remember what you call him. Yeah.
Trash panda, that was it.
So is that better? No, it's not better. Also, awesome opening credits sequence. I love opening credits where they get a bit inventive with them. They do something interesting with them. I think of Watchmen for that. I think Watchmen's got one of the best opening credit sequences of all time. But this was a really good one. So there's this battle sequence going on, but rather than focusing on the battle, we're just focusing on Groot and how he weaves in and out of the battle. And the camera's always on him. So you see stuff going on around him, and he's just dancing through this battle. And it's pretty cute. Let's face it. Don't matter how manly you are, Groot, baby Groot, he's pretty cute. And seeing him dance through this battle is really entertaining. And a unique way, I think, of filming that battle. When I think a more traditional way was let's see the action, let's see what's going on, and it didn't go that route. So yeah.
Great choice of great use of music as well, as there was with the first Guardians of the Galaxy. Again, there's a great use of the soundtrack here. My only criticism actually of the film is that it's pretty could be overdone.
Yeah, I
focusing on the nostalgic music from the past all the time, and in fact, there's a couple of scenes that could have been cut down a little bit. We didn't actually need to reference the music so much.
Yeah, I was going to say I do think they lay it on a bit thick with the whole soundtrack thing. I think because that was an element from the first film that people latched onto. And the soundtrack for that film, it sold like tons. Yeah, it did big business. The whole nostalgic factor. I think they really tapped into that again second time here, and maybe overdid it a little bit. But yeah, still a kick-ass soundtrack, some great songs, and I do like how Kurt Russell's character did use one of the songs to paint a picture of himself as a character as well as his son. So yeah, like you say, they do use it. Not like Suicide Squad, where literally like every scene started with a new song because you knew they were like, we can sell a soundtrack. So yeah, maybe tone it down a bit in the third one, but
I think we should probably mention the other villain, or the villains, should I say, from that planet. I can't remember what they're called now.
The lamest race in the galaxy is what I'm going to call them. These guys can't do anything right. They like when they're first introduced, they're kind of, you have a bit of respect for them in a fair kind of way. They seem like badasses. They seem like people that you don't want to mess with, because the characters tell us these are people you don't want to mess with.
The superiors,
yeah. And then it's like everything they do, they kind of cock it up. And they're no good at kind of getting just a small group of people with like hundreds of ships. They've
a bit of social commentary as well on sort of like the computer game generation, and also the use of drones, I guess, and unmanned ships, because they were all remote, weren't they? Remote ships, and kind of just almost playing on computer games in their home planet whilst having a battle in space.
I think maybe pushing it a bit with the commentary on drones. There's no kind of serious.
That's what I got from it, Brian.
It's not like Eye in the Sky or anything like that.
Yeah, but it showed these remote devices to be ineffective in a sense. So.
I think maybe a disconnect there. There's no emotional. They do treat it like do treat it like a computer game. There's the fact that they're killing people here, or attempting to kill people, because they're so inept they actually don't do it. If you want to read that into it, you can do it.
Well, I do, because at one point they were all crowding around one guy who was left, who was the survivor, and they were all crowding around him, almost like he was in an arcade, and he was the best person in the computer game. And he really wanted to kill these guys, you know what I mean? But he is actually killing them if he's got them. So I think there's something to be said there, Brian.
Maybe. A very loose, thin thread. I don't know what. No, it's I liked it. It was highly entertaining. I do think the first film was marginally better, simply because I thought it was a bit more plot driven, and I do think there were times when this felt a little bit bloated. Like it was so huge. I mean, the films these days, they get bigger and bigger, and particularly with Marvel, like look at the Avengers stuff they got going on. They cram so much into them. They have so many characters to deal with. They do get really bloated, but it doesn't get so bloated that it becomes.
It was full of. I mean, pardon the pun. It was full of ego, if you know what I mean. In terms of they knew they had something great and they didn't mind showing it off. But I think it was brilliant, so they deserved it.
I still think it was great. I still think it was a really good film. You're talking the difference between quality between this one and the second one is very marginal. If I was forced to call it out, I would go first one first, and then this one second. The strength of this one is that we can just get straight into it, straight into these relationships with these characters that we love, and not have to build them up. So for me, that was a strong point. For me personally, I'm going to give this one, for now, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I don't like to go any higher than that until I've maybe done a second watch. Like I say, this is instant reaction, but for me, 4 out of 5.
I'd give it 4 out of 5 as well. I really just had such a great time, but narrative-wise, it was quite simple. But same for something like Mad Max Fury Road. That again was a great film, but very straightforward plot. But really liked it. My one-word review?
Go on.
Riotous.
There you go. Okay, thanks for watching, and if you've seen this film, and I can't imagine you haven't by now, please do comment below and let me know what you thought about it. Until next time, cracking.